Hey guys, my name is Rage Darling, and this is a guide to the encounter of Shriekwing, the first boss on Castle Nathria, on LFR, Normal, and Heroic. The phases and difficulty will be segregated into timestamped sections below. This is a pretty simple boss, but it has a lot of dodge mechanics, so you will want to pop hero on pull for this one. Melee, you guys are most in danger with this boss, so make sure you're paying attention. For phase 1, the positioning on the boss should be as follows. The two tanks will pull the boss close to one of the pillars, facing it away from the raid. The melee should be stood behind it, closest to the pillar, and the ranged and the healers will stand next to the pillar. The tank swapping mechanic on this boss is Extenuating Bite, and this applies a 10 stack debuff on the target. The off tank will immediately taunt it. While the debuff is active, the tank will take damage over time and receive 100% decreased healing, so healers, make sure the tank is topped up before this debuff happens. Randomly, the boss will blind swipe in front of it in a 12-yard cone. There is no direction or pattern of this happening, so melee, make sure you guys are on your toes to dodge. When you see the boss casting ear-splitting strike, it is time to move. Everybody, except the taunting tank, will move together to one of the pillars. You will all drop a large pool of sanguine, which applies ticking damage on it, so you don't want to stand it in there for too long. The idea is to stack it up as much as possible to give yourself as much of the raid room as possible. Once you've done that, return back to the middle. The boss will cast it once more, and then you move to the other pillar. Nice and simple. The boss will also cast echolocation on random targets during the encounter. This will apply a red arrow above your head and will cause AoE damage, so make sure you move out of the raid towards the sanguine puddles you dropped earlier. Wait a few seconds for the debuff to end, and it'll drop another puddle. Now you're free to move back to your raid group. Lastly, the boss will cast Reverberating Scream, which damages you and adds a dot on yourself, dealing damage over time. Make sure you use your damage mitigation and healing spells for this, and healers, keep an eye out for this cast, making sure to top the raid up. Phase 2 will begin when the boss gets to 100% energy and will teleport to the middle of the room. Before this happens though, you need to be stacked together. You can tell how much time you have by her cast of Blood Gorge. Immediately after this is finished, the boss will start channeling Blood Shroud, which creates a 12-yard circle around it. If you stand near this, you will be insta-killed, so tanks, melee, ranged, and healers, you all want to stand behind one of the pillars, not previously used in phase 1. Your main goal here is to survive. Dealing damage on the boss will do absolutely nothing at this stage, so you basically need to wait it out until the boss's energy goes back down to 0. The boss will begin traversing around the raid room with the 12-yard ring still active, so you need to keep moving away from it. Bright white circles will also spawn from the boss, and it will bounce off of objects around the raid room. This is called echoing sonar, and it's actually also in phase 1 while in heroic difficulty. Sonar circles will fly around the place, and you need to dodge these. If you don't, you'll be horrified for a few seconds and marked with deadly descent. This spawns a bat to leap on you and causes AoE damage, as well as dropping another sanguine blood pool at your feet. So it's so important that you don't get hit by this. Whilst you're dodging these sonar circles, you also need to keep an eye on when the boss casts Ear-Splitting Strike. This is the exact same thing that happened in phase 1, so when she casts this, it's time to move. This time, everybody, including the tank, will move together to one of the pillars. You stack up on top of each other, drop a large pool of sanguine, and move away. If you don't get out of a line of sight though, guess what happens? You get feared, marked with deadly descent, and you receive AoE damage again. So as long as your raid group moves together, then it should really be easy. Think of it as some sort of medieval ballroom dance. It's quite fitting considering that this is in Revendreth. After the boss's energy has gone down to 0%, they will go back to the first phase. This is a rinse and repeat until the boss is dead. In heroic difficulty, the only difference is the added mechanic in phase 1, which is Echoing Screech. Just like in phase 2, where you're playing dodgeball with the sonar circles, you do the exact same thing in Echoing Screech. If you fail to do so, you will be feared, marked for deadly descent, and leave a sanguine pool, so just avoid this at all costs, otherwise you'll make the floor really messy. So, to quickly recap phase 1, tanks, make sure to taunt swap after every extenuating bite, and healers, make sure they're topped up before this is applied. Melee, keep on your toes for blind swipe. Everyone make sure you move together for ear-splitting strike, except for the one tank. When you're marked with a red arrow, move out of the raid group. Healers, make sure your raid is topped up when Reverberating Scream is active, especially if it overlaps with another damage ability. Phase 2. Everyone needs to be out of the boss's way before it phases. As the boss moves around the room, stay away from her as much as possible. Everyone needs to dodge the sonar circles from echoing sonar. Break line of sight before she casts ear-splitting strike. In Heroic, the only added mechanic is that everyone needs to dodge the sonar circles from echoing sonar in Phase 1. And that is the encounter of Shriekwing, the first boss in Castle Nathria on LFR, Normal, and Heroic. If you don't have deadly boss mods installed, I highly recommend you do. This will help notify you of all incoming casts, as well as make you aware of things that you need to know about. I personally use deadly boss mods, and I couldn't raid without it. If you enjoyed this, then leave a like below and let me know how your first experience with Shriekwing went. Stop by my stream sometime. I'm live Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday from 12 PM UK time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!